Welcome to the Keeping It Broad podcast, the show that explores the fascinating world of home improvement and renovation. Join hosts James Carlozzi, Tim Pesh, and Mark DeLucia as they share their expertise and insights on the latest trends, products, and their involvement in the industry and community. Let's get into this week's episode.
Welcome to Keeping It Broad. I am Tim Pesh, joined as always, most recently, by James Carlozzi, owner of South Broad Paint Home Center in Wallingford, with a topic today, whenever you're watching this, entitled "When Disaster Strikes." Do the thing.
Dun 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 dun.
Dun 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 dun. When disaster strikes, with our subtopic of when your dream renovation becomes a nightmare. Now, it's not all doom and gloom, but let's face the facts that renovations of any size. We have an element of risk to them, and you've said it before. We don't know what's behind some walls. So, what are some examples of when customers or contractors, where you've walked into the job after the fact, where they've miscalculated the level of investment, or didn't do their homework, and the project just goes south?
So there's a lot to digest there, Tim. A lot to digest.
Yes.
So what I'll start with is that I will say that everybody is entitled to having bad days, and sometimes a small portion of the renovation might not be up to snuff, and it could just be that somebody had a bad day, and unfortunately, it does happen in the business. It happens to everybody. Yeah. Those are kind of minor things that can usually always be changed. Major things that I have seen walking into to things. One of the biggest ones that I would say that I've walked in on, and I've walked in on it several times, is not understanding basically what a load-bearing wall is, right, and having people rip walls out without putting any type of headers or LVLs up, and not knowing any better, and then saying like, oh, well, I didn't know that was what it was. And that should be one of the first things that you want to make sure you can identify and know what's going on. Even as a homeowner, forget the contractor for a minute. Do your due diligence on hiring somebody that can tell you whether something that this wall can be removed, if you're at all at ease about doing it. I mean, that would be one of the major disasters I've walked in on. That's like, wow. I mean, that's some things.
Let's just define a term here. You mentioned a load-bearing wall to it, to the layperson. What
so
is
basically
that
the structure of your home is being held up by whether it's a center beam or something like that, where it goes into. And there's been many times where I've walked into a situation where they've taken the portion of that wall out and it spans 12, 14 feet. Right. You have a second floor above it. Now there's nothing that's holding that weight up. And over time, that is going to start to collapse down onto itself. I mean, that's a disaster. That's a blatant disaster. And I've walked in on them being 90% done with a kitchen, and seeing that and being like, this is an issue and we have to address this almost immediately.
That's a really, really good point. I want to ask that question. And do you think sometimes in the industry, I don't want to say contractors, like you said, anyone can have a bad day, but you think sometimes in the industry, homeowner says they want XYZ, and someone will come in and promise XYZ, even if the customer needs to have ABC, right? Meaning like, I want to have this whole open concept. I want this to happen. I want this to happen. Whatever it is, someone will come in and say, yeah, I'll do it for you. You have no problem saying, maybe we should do this instead.
Yeah. You as a homeowner and things, you should 100% vet whoever you're going to have into your home to do the work. I mean, with our customers, we're very open with our customers, and a lot of our customers invite other future customers over to their home to see what we've done, just so that they can see that. I would 100% say to whoever you're going to use to do your construction work in your home, not only just asking for references and making phone calls, go and actually see if you can visit a home and see what they did. I mean, I would say that we found that very useful, and people are very open. They're very happy to show people their new renovation and seeing how clean and beautiful things can come out. And that's very important for people to do things. You know,
and an eyewitness testimony is your best testimony. Your Google reviews and all of our social media, Facebook, all the social platforms that we're on, especially for a business of our size, is the greatest customer testimonials. We have countless of pictures of projects that we've done. We don't go and post pictures of other people's work and claim it as our own.
Yeah.
If you go on our website,
we
you
try to
go
be
on
as
Google
genuine
reviews,
as we can.
that is us.
Everything that you see is stuff that we are doing or are in the process of doing. We
Right.
love trying to show the before, durings, and afters of a lot of our renovations. And the progress on how things look as well, and even touching a little bit more, Tim. With, some that particular instance with load bearing walls.
Right.
That's a huge issue. There are some smaller things that that you sometimes walk into where they might have found someone that says they can do tile work and do a backsplash, and it looks like hell.
Yeah.
I mean, it just looks like a disaster, and they ask us to come in and replace it because they know that it wasn't done up to where it needs to be. And even more, there's situations that I've run into where, we talk about what's behind walls and things that are not something that you can control. Probably a year ago or so, we were on a kitchen renovation where we ripped out, kitchen cabinets, and then all of a sudden, all these carpenter ants started flooding out, and we had to tell the homeowner that you've got an infestation of ants. They're eating away at stuff. I mean, you need to get this addressed. So, I mean, that's not a huge thing. It's a Terminex comes out, whoever it is that, pest control comes out and they take care of it. But I mean, again, those are things that's not something I would account for, but we got to obviously, make sure that it gets taken care of. We just can't, continue to do work without that being addressed,
That's something you would not even have known had your kitchen
not
have been ripped apart. Yeah.
So you get little things like that. I mean, those little things like that happen often. I mean, sometimes even electrical and stuff like that, wires are tied where they're not supposed to be and things. I mean, I'm opening up. I have to look at it. We have to resolve it. I mean, I have to go through and take care of it.
Yeah.
It's just that easy. You pretty much own it once you start doing it. And that's the way that we do things. We want to make sure that we do things up to code, up to where they need to be, making sure that everything is where it is.
You're either a stud finder or a dud finder in terms of, you may hit it right, or you may turn down that wall and find something that prevents you from going to the next step as much as you thought you would. Now let's also mention, you're mentioning load-bearing walls and totally changing looks and layouts and of home, moving plumbing around. Do you find, again, we're talking when disaster strikes, and we're saying that tongue in cheek, but do you find that you can't have this conversation without having a budgetary conversation too?
Yeah, I think it's very important for customers to establish a budget that they want to spend on what it is. Now, sometimes the consumer doesn't understand the cost of doing some of the things, and I think that it's hard for them to gauge it, but it doesn't mean that you can't update or do a renovation within your budget, but there are sometimes restrictions to what things are, Tim, to when you're doing things. And that's a very important key, and that should be, established early. We try to make sure that we hit people's budgets early, talk to them about it. I think that there's a misconception that you don't want to let people know what numbers you want to spend on things, but that helps gauge the renovation. I mean, if I know up front that a customer wants to spend X amount of dollars, then I want to give them the best thing they can have for that amount of money. I mean,
I think people get awkward. I think people get
very awkward,
uncomfortable talking about money.
Oh yeah,
including myself. I understand that too, but I think to not be intimidated by it, like you just said, if you want to spend X, well, let's together make it spend X.
You'd be surprised with just painting a room a different color how much that can update the look of a room too.
Absolutely.
As well. I mean, that's a very simple and easy thing to do without having to change out moldings and things like that as well. I mean, closet doors, you don't have to do all that. Just put some paint on it and you'd be surprised.
The vetting process goes really far in ensuring that you have done your best practice to avoid potential issues in what you're getting yourself into. What I mean by that is check us out. We're going to put ourselves out there.
Yeah.
You do your due diligence before you even decide to go with us. We are happy to be in your conversation, but put us to the test. put us as a test. Go read our testimonials. Go look at our pictures.
Call us up, ask for references.
Call us up, ask for references.
We can probably set up appointments with previous customers on what we've done.
Yes.
I mean, it'll work.
Yes. Go if you know what if you want to know what it's like to deal with, first of all, any renovation. Read the reviews, and if you wanted to see what it's like to work with us again, people are telling their story of what it's like to work with us at South Broad and the experiences that they've had, because things have gone wrong, things will go wrong. That's part of life. But I think the story here is we're there with you, and we're gonna help you through the process. It's not like you're gonna find a disaster and we're just gonna leave you for dead.
Not gonna leave you high and dry.
Not
We're
gonna
gonna figure
leave
it
you-
out. We're gonna figure it
That
out.
might be all
and
you
we're
need to
gonna
hear.
We're gonna take care of it.
Together.
Yes.
For James Carlozzi, I am Tim Pache for another edition of Keeping It Broad, a portion of the social media platform of South Broad Painting Home Center in Wallingford, Connecticut. See you next time. Thanks.
Hey now.